Everyone scores the Battle of the Gullet a win for the Blacks. It was also the worst thing that ever happened to the dragons of Westeros, because a victory has a price, and the price of this one was paid in the only currency House Targaryen could never earn back. On the night they won the Gullet, the Blacks made a trade, and every dragon still in the sky was going to die paying for it. They just didn't know it yet. So tonight, forget the scoreboard. We're going to read the receipt. I'm going to show you what the greatest battle of the dance actually cost, and why the win the histories remember is the exact moment the Age of Dragons started burning itself out of the sky. Let's be fair to the victory first, because it's real. An enemy fleet comes north out of the Free Cities. The alliance the histories call the Triarchy, the Three Daughters, Lys and Myr and Tyrosh sailing as one. They come to break the blockade that's been strangling King's Landing by sea, and waiting for them in the Gullet is the greatest fleet the Seven Kingdoms has ever put on the water. The war fleet of the Sea Snake, Jacaerys Velaryon, the richest sailor who ever lived. What follows is the largest sea battle in the history of Westeros. More men die in the black water of the Gullet than in almost any battle of the whole war. And when the smoke clears, the Blacks have it. The Triarchy fleet is shattered. The relief never reaches King's Landing. The blockade holds. By the count of ships, it's a clean win. The Sea Snake wins the day. That's the version you'll hear, and it's true, as far as it goes. The problem is what it leaves off the page. Because to win those ships, the Blacks did something they had never done in 180 years of ruling with dragons. They sent dragons into a battle where dragons could die. Start with the first line of the receipt. The heir to the throne. Prince Jacaerys Velaryon, Rhaenyra's eldest son, the next king of the Seven Kingdoms if the Blacks win the war, flies into the Gullet on his dragon, Vermax. And he does not fly out. Every deck below him bristles with scorpions. Every rail has crossbowmen. The Free Cities came knowing they'd be fighting dragons, and they came ready for them. Vermax takes hit after hit, and somewhere in that storm of iron, the heir of the realm goes into the water and drowns in the dark. That's the future king of Westeros, gone, and the dragon goes down with him. 2 irreplaceable pieces off the board in a single afternoon, and the show adds a second young dragon to the same slaughter. Stormcloud, carrying the child Prince Aegon the Younger, takes wound after wound, covering that boy's escape, drags himself home to Dragonstone, and dies of his hurts within the hour. So add it up. To burn a fleet of ships, the Blacks spent the heir to the realm and 2 dragons of House Targaryen. And now I need you to look at both sides of that trade at the same time, because this is where the win turns into the wound. The ships the Blacks destroyed at the Gullet, Lys and Myr and Tyrosh can build those again. The Free Cities have gold and shipwrights and forests. Give them a year and there's another fleet. A burned galley is a bad afternoon. A dead dragon is not. You cannot lay a dragon's keel in a shipyard. You cannot buy one from a merchant. When the dance began, there were not even a score of dragons of fighting age in all the world. And most of those the Targaryens had spent a century failing to breed back to their old numbers. That's the trade nobody on those decks was doing in their head. The Blacks spent a resource that never comes back to destroy a resource the enemy can rebuild. And when you win a war by trading the one thing you can't replace for things your enemy can, you are losing. Even on the days you win. That's the flaw hiding under the whole Black War effort. The dragons weren't just their strongest weapon. The dragons were the only weapon they had that the world couldn't make more of. And the Gullet is the day they started spending it, like it was arrows. And if this is the layer the show never has time for, not the spectacle, but the price under the spectacle, get subscribed now. Because Season 3 is going to spend dragons faster than any season we've ever watched, and I want you counting the cost with me while everyone else is just watching things burn. Now, I can already hear the objection. Dragons had died before the Gullet, and that's true. Arax fell over Storm's End with Lucerys on his back. Meleys, the Red Queen, was pulled down and killed at Rook's Rest. So why call the Gullet the beginning of the end, and not one of those? Because those were single dragons, one caught in a storm. One walked into an ambush. Terrible losses, but losses of one. The Gullet is the first time in the entire war that the Blacks throw dragons into a battle by the handful and lose them by the handful. It's the day dragon death stops being a tragedy that happens to a dragon and starts being a cost of doing battle, And once that door is open, watch how fast the rest of the war walks through it. The Sowing, where wild dragons burn the desperate small folk who try to claim them. Tumbleton, where Sea Smoke, Tessarion, and the great bronze fury Vermax all die in a single tangle in the sky. 3 dragons who enter that fight, and not one flies away. And then the God's Eye, the largest dragon in the world, Vhagar, and the bloodworm Caraxes, both gone in a single duel over the water. The biggest, and one of the deadliest dragons of the age, cancelled out in one afternoon. That's not a battle. That's 2 irreplaceable pieces swept off the board together. And at the bottom of it all, the small folk of King's Landing storm the Dragonpit and tear-chain dragons apart with their bare hands. Every one of these is the Gullet's trade. Run again and again. Spend the dragon. Win the day. Wake up with one fewer dragon in a world that cannot make another. Here's the part that should really sting. The Targaryens' true weapon was never the dragon in the battle. It was the dragon nobody dared to fight. For 180 years, a dragon in the sky wasn't a war beast. It was a verdict. You knelt or you burned. And because everyone believed that, the Targaryens almost never had to prove it. That's the game the Blacks were actually winning. Dragon supremacy meant they could win wars by not fighting them, by keeping their dragons alive and unbeaten and terrifying. The moment they flew dragons into a meat grinder in the Gullet, they cashed in 180 years of invincibility for a pile of burning ships. And once dragons start dying in battles, once the world watches the heir's own dragon get shot into the sea, the fear breaks. The verdict becomes a target. Every scorpion the Greens build after this, every crossbow, every trap is the Gullet's lesson repeated. A dragon is a thing that can be killed. The Blacks didn't just lose dragons at the Gullet. They loosed the idea that would kill all the rest. So here's the receipt for the great Black victory. 1 shattered enemy fleet that the free cities will rebuild. In exchange, the heir to the throne, drowned. 2 dragons, dead. The Targaryen breeding stock, already failing, cut deeper. And the myth that kept them safe for 6 generations, broken in front of the whole world. Before the dance, near a score of dragons flew in the world. After it, a bare handful were left alive. And a single generation later, the last dragon in the entire world died a stunted, sickly thing no bigger than a dog. And here's the line that closes the whole thing. Remember the frightened boy on Stormcloud's back, the child dragged half dead out of the Gullet? He grows up to be King Aegon III. History gives him a name for what happens in his reign. They call him Aegon the Dragonbane, because the last Targaryen dragons wither and die while he sits the Iron Throne. The boy who barely escaped the first great spending of dragons at the Gullet lived to preside over the last one. The account that opened on the night everyone called a victory, it closed with him, on an empty throne, in a world with no dragons left in the sky. So that's the Gullet, not the battle where the Blacks won the war. The battle where they started spending the only thing that made them Targaryens. 1 dragon at a time, faster than any power on Earth could ever give it back. So tell me down in the comments, was the Gullet a victory the Blacks were too proud to see the price of? Or was the Age of Dragons always going to end the moment anyone started treating gods like weapons? I'll be reading every answer. I'm your maester at the Black Dread, the Bones remember.